as the wind starts picking up. Okay, we're live on YouTube. Intro's about to play. Have a good show, guys.
Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, brought to you by our friends over at Greta. Greta is a great spot for all games, home and away. We will be there for all the Canucks Army viewing parties throughout the season, and details on those are coming soon. Just minutes from the arena. Come by before and after the game, or whatever event you're downtown for. With weekly drink specials, Greta Bar YVR is the place to be. 50 West Cordova Street. Let the games begin. My name is Dave Quadrelli. Joining me is Harmon Dial from a patio in Penticton, another outdoor edition of Canucks Conversation. And I gotta say, Harm, I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. I'm really liking the outdoor shows.
It's a vibe. You got the sun out here. It's actually kind of strange that the weather's this nice for the start of training camp. But we'll absolutely take it, and as long as the weather continues to cooperate, I would love to keep doing shows out here.
I know. I hope we never have to leave Penticton, to be honest with you. We'll be here until Sunday.
Okay, don't say that part.
You don't like Penticton?
Well, Drance has been here for almost 10 days now.
So Drance,
I can imagine it's going to be, yeah, I would be too. Don't get me wrong, I love Penticton, but
there is a limit.
Harmon hates Penticton. Heard it here first, folks.
All right, Facebook Uncle Quads with his sunglasses.
Hey, sunglasses are a good thing to have. When you got the baby blues, you got to protect them. Okay, speaking of protect, not quite a good transition, but Thatcher Demko spoke today, cleared the air. We talked about this yesterday, Harm. This is the big news of the day. This is what people want to get to. This is what we're going to talk about. Thatcher Demko clears the air? Question mark on his status. We knew he was going to come out and give us the update once and for all. He wanted to just say exactly what's going on. Before we get to that, I just want to say that I was there before the sessions all started, and I saw him getting work on the ice with Marco Terenius, and he was doing a lot of movements. He did take a while to warm it up, right? Like he was really going through the progression of warming up his legs. And obviously the big thing that he's not doing yet, and kind of the next benchmark it would seem for him to hit, is doing the RVH, like a hard RVH, right? Like going into the post hard, popping up, doing that. He's not at that point yet. As you see the video here, for those that are watching the live stream, he is sliding around and he is doing a lot of his movements, but again, he's not doing like a hard RVH into the post or anything like that. So that's kind of the next step for him. That's kind of what's holding him back at this point. I think that's the next progression in his recovery. But again, like I said, when I was there watching him warm up, he was just skating back and forth. He was stretching out his legs a lot. And I was like, oh my gosh, if this is all he can do, like they were really using the term literally when they said, yeah, he's back skating. Like he looked like a child skating on the ice for the first time. Like I was like, he's so far away. And then I saw him get in the crease, saw him start taking some shots. And I said, okay, like now I understand this idea of being very happy with your progression if you're Thatcher Demko. And that's one thing he said, is that while he doesn't have a timeline, he's very happy with his progression.
Yeah, and that's only been the last 2 or 3 weeks, right? Demko admitted that there were a couple of months in the summer there where his progress seemed to completely stall. He obviously wasn't able to reportedly get on the ice for a long time. And so when the organization comes out, and whether it's Alvin, Tocchet, Demko himself, when they say over the last couple of weeks he's made significant progress, a lot of us don't know what exactly to make of that. Is that just the organization trying to spin it in a positive way? Or are they just trying to stay as upbeat as possible? But no, again, watching the movements for him before he met the media, there is legit promising progress there. But of course, there are other concerning things that Demko will touch on and that we'll discuss further as well.
Do you want to hear it? Should we just get to it now? Let's get to Demko. Hear from the horse's mouth. Here's Thatcher Demko explaining his rare and unique injury. We're going to talk about it on the other side.
Situation you're in right now, how would you describe that situation and where you are?
Yeah, I mean, when I first felt the injury, obviously wasn't too sure what it was, and as we kind of dived into some research and things, it was a little ambiguous, and it's been, like I said, a little bit of a frustrating summer, just trying to get some answers. And obviously we've talked to all the specialists that we can around the world and North America and even overseas, and this is the information that we've kind of gathered, and myself and the staff and the organization are fully confident that we're on the right track.
Patrick Alvin reiterated that had the team beaten Edmonton, they fully expected that you would be available the next round, that you'd be cleared. So I know recoveries are rarely just linear, but did things get worse after that point? Like, did it get worse and then get better, start to get better?
Yeah, I would say it hasn't been quite linear, obviously. I think looking back as a competitor, I think you kind of lie to yourself in a playoff situation, and I thought maybe I was a little bit farther ahead than I was, in hindsight. I do think that I would have been in a situation where I probably would have been able to kind of grit through it and maybe get out there and play in the conference final there. I'll say that I did hit a bit of a wall in the summer as far as the recovery went, and we did see a little bit of a lack of progress there for a couple months, and obviously that's why I'm in the situation that I'm in right now. But I would say, like I said, the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, we've seen a ton of progress, and we're very confident in where I am right now and happy with that.
Might it be a situation that you just manage while you play, or is it something you can be 100% before you play? I know you want to.
Yeah, no, I think I'll be able to get to 100%. Again, there's a lack of research. There's I don't know too much about what this looks like full picture at the end of the whole process, but I have full confidence that I'll be able to get back to 100%. And even if I'm sure it'll be a situation just like anything. When you have an injury, it's something that you have to keep an eye on and maybe tweak some of your training habits and some of your rehab habits and just stay on top of your maintenance and things like that. But I don't have any doubt that I'll be 100%.
Okay, so some interesting stuff there from Thatcher Demko. And again, we're not going to play the entire availability, but another thing that he said later, Harm, is that he had a minor surgery, said it took him 2 weeks to recover from that, unrelated to the injury that he's dealing with right now, which is the one that he sustained at the end of game 1 of the playoffs against game 1 of the playoffs against the Nashville Predators. That's the injury he's dealing with right now. But when they were looking at that, he said that they found another minor injury that he had a minor surgery on. Again, 2-week recovery, and he was fine on that. So that's just another thing that he mentioned. The really interesting thing, the thing that I think we have to talk about the most, is that it's rare and unique. Wouldn't tell us like exactly what it was. He said it was a muscle injury. We know it's in his knee area. And then he said there's not one case that we can find of the injury. Goaltender, hockey player in general. He said that's been part of the frustration, not having information. He said he was just kind of blindfolded. And he just said we haven't found a single hockey player. We found maybe less than 5 soccer guys. And then he made a joke that he's leading the charge for the next guy that has that injury. Someone replied on Twitter today and said that might be the most Canuck thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
you have an injury
like it,
that just has never happened to anybody else. You're the first person to get this injury, and there's no research on it.
Especially after the team finally has success and Demko
Yes.
has a year where he finishes as a Vezina finalist. Yeah, that tracks. And ultimately, the other big takeaway, still no timeline for return, right? And so while it's promising that he's making progress and is ramping up the rigor of his on-ice training, ultimately, when you're talking about no timeline for return and an unprecedented injury, this is still looming large as a concern. This isn't the type of availability where you listen to it and go, well, that settles everybody's nerves. Like, to me, the goaltending of this team, Demko's availability and health, and even what he looks like when he does return, all of that is still a huge question mark, even more so arguably than when the reports initially came out that, hey, there have been some setbacks with his recovery.
Yeah, and I mean, like, where do we go from there? Like you said, there's no timeline, so you don't know how long he's going to be out for. You don't know what the situation is going to be like, because he said, like, he's like, I'm not going to set myself up to give a timeline. It's almost like the practice facility update from Rutherford yesterday. There's no timeline because we don't know when it's going to happen. So you're entering the year with a tandem of Archer Shilovs and Yuri Patera. I'm going to say it again. This team needs Kevin Lankinen, and Kevin Lankinen needs this team. It feels like training camp's over. Kevin Lankinen's sitting on the couch. Kevin
But
Lankinen doesn't have a job.
I agree, but here's the thing. From Lankinen's perspective, again, the uncertainty and the lack of timeline goes both ways in the sense that what if Demko continues this promising progress of the last 2-3 weeks? He's back relatively early in the regular season, and now he's in a spot where he's got Demko ahead of him, and Artur Shilovs is the surprise prospect that the Canucks value heavily and want him to get NHL reps this year too. So now all of a sudden, Lankinen could be in a boat where he again doesn't have the opportunity to play meaningful games and build up his stock ahead of free agency next summer when he'll want to cash in.
Can I also just say that this press conference, Thatcher Demko came across extremely well?
Absolutely.
In terms of like his, I don't want to say patience, but his
how forthcoming he was.
Yeah, forthcoming. His overall demeanor, like he was in a good mood, all things considered. Like he was in a good mood, and again, there wasn't any, like attitude. There was no sulking. There was no, oh, woe is me. Like this is horrible that I'm going through this, and it is horrible that he's going through it. But like there was no feeling sorry for himself, and I think he came across just super well in that media availability and in that press conference. And again, like I think it was JPAT that asked him, why did you want to do this instead of the GM? And he just said, like, there's been so much out there. You guys have been in the dark. And he used the word respecting the media. Like he said, out of respect for you guys. Is that like the first time a Canuck player is talking about him respecting the media? Because I think so. I think so.
I think a lot of us are surprised because when Alvin first announced that Demko wanted to address and talk to us directly, I think a lot of us in the back of our mind were thinking, oh, is he going to go off at us for all the speculation and all the discussion around his health? But no, he went in there. And again, in the past, have there been moments where Demko's been a little bit cagey, a little bit icy, not very forthcoming? Absolutely. But today, I mean, he came off really mature, really polished. I was impressed with how he's handling all of this mentally. And that matters in the sense of this injury isn't just physical. It's going to be a mental battle. The level of rehab and how hard he's been working and to deal with setbacks and the uncertainty and the frustration, and especially the lack of research and knowledge around this injury, it's going to take a lot of mental fortitude for him to come back and be successful with this. And I think the way he handled the day as a whole is at least a promising sign that he has what it takes mentally to deal with the challenges ahead.
Because the other thing about this, and this was pointed out to me by Lachlan Irvin over at Canucks Army, 2 years ago when Demko came back from his other injury, he said that starting the offseason late made it really hard for him to, or not really hard, but that it made it harder for him to prepare for the year. And he started that training in like July or August, whereas he would have started it more in June, right? Like he was talking about maybe a month, being pushed back like a month. Now, how far has he been pushed back, right? Like he's been doing what we've seen his progression for 2 weeks. Like that's pushing back your progression. That's a whole new challenge, right? Like that's a challenge that really, to this extent, that he hasn't really dealt with at the NHL level. So, with Demko, I think he came across really well. We don't know exactly when he's going to be back. You have to be prepared to enter the year with Shilovs and Patera as your combo. But I say it, man, like the Canucks need Kevin Lankinen. I understand what you're saying about not a ton of certainty, but I also think just with what you're hearing from Thatcher Demko, I don't know how anyone can hear this and say, okay, well, once he comes back, he's going to be fine for the whole year. And I know, again, it's still uncertainty for not for Patera, for Kevin Lankinen to sign here under that kind of, understanding all of that you don't know what's going to happen to him. But I want to see Kevin Lankinen in a Canucks uniform. I do.
I think he would absolutely be the best option out there. But again, that's where he's, I'm sure, going to take his time, see what evolves in training camps and preseasons around the NHL in terms of goalie injuries and what happens when certain guys get plucked off waivers. And again, that's where the waiver wire is going to be an interesting outlet as well, where it's easier to pull off the logistics of just claiming a guy off waivers and then dealing with that later, as opposed to having to pitch a free agent to want to come here.
Anything else on Demko that you wanted to get to before we get to poll question, which is also goaltending related?
One other interesting thing that I noted, again, along similar lines of maturing, he definitely conceded to the idea that he's going to have to, in the future, once he comes back, reinvent the way that he kind of trains and altering his habits. He alluded to the fact that he only has one gear, and that's to go as hard as possible. And that's not just related to the way he practices and trains, but also the level of workload that he desires as a workhorse number one goaltender. And I think he's realizing that there's a balance between wanting to work hard and fulfill his potential essentially, but also making sure that his body actually holds up, because the most important part is that he's actually available to play games in the first place. So he said he spoke to a lot of consultants about that side of things. So, and he sounded confident about being able to implement that whenever he does return.
Yeah, and again, they talked about going to specialists in not only North America, but Europe as well, and all over the world trying to figure this out. And again, 5 soccer players. They could find about 5 soccer players and no hockey players that have had this injury. Okay, we're going to get to our poll question. We've also got this clip about JT Miller talking about Thatcher Demko. We're going to get to that and anyone else. But first, let's get to our poll question, which is brought to you by our friends over at Mr. Lube. Our poll question today: how confident are you in a goalie tandem of Artur Shilovs and Jiri Patera to start the Canucks season? Confident, okay for the short term, and worried were our options. Harm, right now 78.7% of voters say okay for the short term, 14.6% say they are worried, 6.7% say they are confident in it. I think I'm with the majority here. I think it's okay for the short term, and I love me some Artur Shilovs. I'm certainly not worried. I'm definitely closer to confident than I am the okay for the short term part. I think that's where I'm at, somewhere in between okay for the short term and confident. I'm certainly not worried about it, but I would like the insurance of a really good goaltender in Kevin Lankinen coming in.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Again, I'm in a similar boat where I think they're okay for the short term, but look, if this is going to be an extended absence, or if there are question marks around even when Demko does return, is he going to be able to stay healthy? What level of play is he going to be able to sustain? What type of workload is he even going to be allowed or able to take on? In that case, you may, I think, need to explore reinforcements and upgrading at the goalie position, just so you have some extra depth, because right now Shilovs was terrific in the playoffs, but when you look at his regular season across pretty much any level that he's played at, he's never had a dominant regular season at any level. He's capable of these absolute heaters where in high stakes situations he can play at an elite level, but has he been able to sustain it over a full season? Because again, going back to last year, even in the AHL, there were times when Tolopilo was outplaying Shilovs. We've seen examples of goaltenders like Spencer Martin. Of course, different circumstances because that was at the end of the season as opposed to playoffs. But remember when Spencer Martin for a stretch was unbelievable for this team, and there was a lot of confidence that okay, he can be a successful backup, and then he's thrust into a position where he has to play more consistently, and he just wasn't able to carry the load. And of course, Shilovs is younger. He's a higher pedigree goaltender, but again, very little experience at the NHL level, and same thing with Jiri Patera.
Rajcraft asking in the chat, is Kevin Lankinen the new Riley Tuff? Kron said no, because Lankinen is actually good. That was our poll question. It was brought to you by Mr. Lube. Mr. Lube and Tires Change Your Oil, Change Your Wipers event is on now. Visit MrLube.com to download your coupon for a free pair of Goodyear hybrid wiper blades with any oil change for a limited time at Mr. Lube. Find them at one of their 18 locations in the Lower Mainland. Okay.
He's your new Elias Lindholm.
Oh yeah, I forgot I even liked Elias Lindholm. I'm a big fan of so many guys throughout the season. So, anyways, we'll see who the new Elias Lindholm is for me this year. Man, I called that early. I didn't take nearly enough victory laps on that. I was calling that in like November.
That really early.
Wow. All right, I'll think of my target. Maybe it's Rasmus Anderson. I don't know. Someone yesterday pointed out that it's going to cost a lot to get Rasmus Anderson.
A ton.
Yeah, like you're losing Jonathan Lekkerimäki probably if you're going after Anderson. Speaking of which, let's get to anyone else, which is presented by the Vancouver Canadians. The Vancouver Canadians thank Seas fans for another great season at the Nat this summer. If you're looking to guarantee your seat for all the action in 2025, please visit CanadiansBaseball.com or call 604-872-5232. Okay, can we get this clip of JT Miller? This was really funny, and I'll set it up because JT Miller did his media avail today, and he was asked about Thatcher Demko, and he looked to there was two Canucks PR people. There was one on the right and one on the left. And before he answered the question about Demko, he wanted to make sure that the media had already found out about his injury, because obviously they were explaining to the players that, hey, we're keeping this under wraps. Thatcher's going to explain it himself. So I think what really happened is I don't think JT knew if Thatcher had already spoken yet. So this was his answer when he was asked about Thatcher Demko today.
Yeah. No, is he injured? I don't know. Last time I did this, I almost got in a fight. No, he's a big part of our team. And no, we know how big of it legit. We all know how big of a piece of our team he is, and the faster he can get back on the ice, obviously. I really don't know much about it, so I just know he's working hard to be out there with us, and we miss him.
It's the video version is way better than the audio, because the
is.
video version, it's the stares to the PR people and him not knowing what to say that makes it all that much better. And also when he then goes to the canned sort of like PR type answer, he mockingly sort of like
He's a
makes
big part of
facial
our
exp- He's a
team.
big part of our team. The classic, just like, this is what to say if you're ever asked about a player's injury.
And I love when he goes, is he injured? Like, he's like asking if we know about it yet. Oh, it was just so good. It was good comedic timing. Like, JT Miller could be on The Office. Like, that was so good.
I just want to know
so good.
what he spilled the beans on that he almost apparently got into a fight for.
Yeah, where he said, last time I did this, I almost got into a fight. It's like, geez, all right, what was he talking about? Anyways, that was really good. That was really, really funny. But other takeaways from day one of Camp Harm, let's get into it. Let's start with Elias Pettersson, who skated with Jake DeBrusk, and he also skated with Jonathan Lekkerimäki. I've got a ton on this, and I wrote about this as well. Elias Pettersson talked about his knee injury. Obviously, he came out and said he had the knee tendonitis that he was dealing with for the back half of the season when his production dipped. Talked about it, said, yeah, it doesn't hurt right now and it's feeling fine. But the words he used were that it's a nagging injury. It's something that doesn't want to go away. He said, I don't feel any pain right now. He said that they figured out a way to work around it. He said it's not a big thing. The knee is fine. That answer obviously isn't the most, I don't know, it doesn't inspire the most confidence. I don't think that this isn't going to be an issue for him again. My hope is that when he's talking about it and he seems to have a good grasp on it, what I'm hoping for personally is that it just comes down to, okay, he knows that when this is bugging him, shut it down for a week. Don't keep pushing. Don't try to play every game. If you're going to play and be at 50, 60 or whatever it was we saw down the stretch, if that's how you're going to play when this knee's bugging you, shut it down earlier. Like, it doesn't have to be long absences. It's just like, hey, the knee's bugging me right now. We all know what's going on, right? The knee's bugging me right now. I'm just going to sit out a game or two, right? I'm going to sit out maybe 3 games, and then it's going to be better, and then I'll be able to keep up my production. And most importantly, take the last month of the season off. If they're in a playoff spot like they were last year, just take the whole last month off. Get yourself ready for game 1 of the playoffs. That's what I took away from it. It seems like he has a good grasp on it. Again, he used the word nagging injury. So when it starts nagging, I just hope that it's not one of these things that he tries to play through. And let's be honest, plays through it unsuccessfully and isn't himself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's difficult though, because this idea of, like, most players want to play through injuries.
Yep.
Right. I often bring up the example of Austin Matthews a couple of years ago when he had a clear wrist injury, and a lot of Leafs fans were saying, well, why doesn't he just shut it down? He's still productive. He's still producing a lot, but he wasn't putting up Austin Matthews type numbers. It was the season after he won the Hart Trophy, and ultimately, even in Toronto, they were basically guaranteed a playoff spot, and yet everybody only cares about the playoffs in that market, and yet he continued playing.
Yep.
Eventually, he got better, closer to down the stretch, and he was fine from there. But these are difficult conversations. As easy as it is for you to say that, and as much as I agree, for a player to actually want to do that in the middle of the regular season, it's it's not always that straightforward, especially because I think sometimes the worry is, well, if I take, let's say, a week off, is it really going to get significantly better?
Yeah, exactly. That's
is
the
that
worry.
a guarantee?
Exactly. You don't know. And again, I'm using the week as the arbitrary number. But again, if it's like a month or two, yeah, he's probably going to want to just play through that.
And also last year, the Canucks had an extra margin, an extra cushion because they came out of the gate
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely flying. There's no guarantee that they're going to be leading the Pacific Division or really comfortably in a playoff spot right after the first month of the season, especially now that there's uncertainty around Demko and even to a certain extent Dakota Joshua. Your team has to be in a position to where you can afford to miss Pettersson for a few games. And Demko's usage in the second half and down the stretch is another perfect example, right? Where the Canucks were in a comfortable enough spot to where they should have rested Demko.
Yeah.
But they still felt the need to play him a ton to secure the division.
Yeah, and Demko wanted to play. You know that. It goes back to your point. If these players want to play no matter what's going on, and again, Demko wasn't hurt at that time, but we should know better. We should just know better at this point. Okay, there's a few things that I want to get to from camp. On Pettersson as well, we obviously saw DeBrusk and Lekkerimäki there. Lekkerimäki starting training camp on, I don't want to say the top line, but the top line of Group A, certainly, skating with Elias Pettersson and Jake DeBrusk. Jake DeBrusk said he couldn't pronounce Lekkerimäki's name, but he did say that kid's got a hell of a shot and that he is a pretty damn good player. Good showing for Jonathan Lekkerimäki and exactly where you want to be if you're him starting day one in training camp.
Yeah, and day one of camp is a perfect environment for him to start feeling comfortable because a lot of it is rush drills. A lot of it is you're going to have open ice and space in the offensive zone, which is where he can flash his skill, flash his shot, flash his hockey IQ, which he did. He didn't look out of place at all. That's what you want to see. It's going to be further down the road in camp when we start to see scrimmages, when the physicality starts to ramp up, when there's more 5-on-5 play and there's less time and space for him to operate and make plays. In that environment, can he learn to mesh with skilled players like Pettersson and look like a player that can actually contend for a roster spot? One interesting thing that I did observe, and I don't want to point this out as a negative necessarily, just something to keep in mind for a young player that still has a lot of runway to grow and develop, is I think Lekkerimäki could stand to improve his edge work. And what I mean by that is I think at Young Stars, we saw that when he's carrying the puck through the neutral zone, when he's able to wind it up, he's able to pick up a lot of speed, and he has a one-on-one skill to really drive zone entries, to beat defenders one-on-one, to slice through the opposition structure and really make dangerous plays happen off the rush. But when it comes to, let's say, off the cycle or an extended offensive zone possession, that's where he maybe isn't as much of a play driver. And what I noticed in a couple of the down low offensive zone type drills that the Canucks had in camp is it seemed like when he had possession of the puck in the corners, for example, that he didn't have that explosiveness when he was trying to change directions, or that acceleration in his first couple of strides on his edges to really separate himself from defenders so that he could put himself in dangerous offensive positions to get a shot off or make a high end pass. It's like he was just a little bit flat there. And that's where I'd love to see him sort of, especially because he is a smaller guy and so it's more challenging to get to the inside, get in dangerous scoring areas. I'd love to see him study how Höglander and Garland play off the cycle, play in small areas, watch their edge work, because if he can improve that over the next weeks, months, years, that'll make a world of a difference in how strong of a play driver and creator he can be during extended in-zone possessions, so that he's not just reliant on the rush to create offense.
I'm curious to get your thoughts on the other young guy in camp, Elias Pettersson, the defenseman. He skated in Group A, and we'll just go through the groups here. Like Group A, it was Elias Pettersson, it was Filip Hronek. That was Pettersson getting rewarded. It was basically the same as him, as Lekkerimäki getting a shot on a top line. He skates with Filip Hronek. Filip Hronek and Quinn Hughes were in different groups. We'll get to that later. Look, Elias Pettersson isn't going to be Filip Hronek's partner on day one of camp, on day one of the regular season. But Rick Tocchet spoke about this idea of giving these young guys a shot to play with the top talent. How do you fare? How do you fare when you're playing with these top guys? So Elias Pettersson played with Phil Peronic. What did you think of him?
I thought he was really impressive. Really impressive. Didn't look out of place in that pro environment at all, which sometimes young defensemen, whether it's especially defensively in some of those battle drills in the corners, it's not just about the size and the physicality. It's little details like stick placement, how to hold off a gap, or sometimes they'll just get fooled by a high skill player and the sort of like pivots or deceptive moves that they make just because they don't have a lot of that experience. And DPD in those scenarios looked really confident. There was a battle one-on-one situation where he was up against Höglander, and Höglander, despite not being the tallest guy, we know how strong he is on his feet. We know how elusive he is on his edges, and Höglander's best trait is his ability to create offense down low in the offensive zone. And DPD stood him up. He was able to play a tight gap. He was smothering him right on top of him. He was bodying him, and it was like, okay, this is a man. This guy's got some serious heft and beef to him. Plus, he has the defensive technique to sort of keep him on the outside. So I'm impressed with his progress as a first year North American kid. I look at him right now and think to myself, he should definitely be playing a major role for Abbotsford on the blue line this coming season.
Group B. Moving on to Group B, because again, I bring it up because I was impressed with Elias Pettersson. Like, I thought it was a really solid first day camp for him. Same thing with Jonathan Lekkerimäki. You don't look at a place. Like, that's your goal, is don't look at a place in the drills. Now let's see what you do when you get a preseason opportunity. Group B, Danton Heinen skates with JT Miller and Brock Besser. There was some questions about who's going to be in that spot. It's the local kid. It is Danton Heinen. Let's start on that line. I wondered about who was going to be in that spot. It turns out to be Heinen. Do you think it's going to be like that on opening night? I just don't.
Really? Why not?
I don't know how much I like that trio. And again, I'm not just judging this on one day. Like, you listen to the old episodes that we've done all off season. I'm not sure how much I like that trio in terms of how much offensive upside Danton Heinen really has to his game.
Well, he's same as Pia Suter, right? He'll give you 15 plus goals, and Suter was great in that role.
So that's my point, is do you think that you can shoot higher than Pia Suter? Because I think you can. I think you can shoot higher than Heinen and Suter, and it's not a knock on them per se. It's more of I think they can go bring value elsewhere in the lineup, and you can get a bit of a more offensive-minded guy up in that spot.
But what sacrifices that come with defensively? That's the big question, because that line.
And if your answer is Daniel Sprong, then yeah, there is
like you're not going to put Sprong there, because that line's going to go up against McDavid or McKinnon, whatever the other team's top line is. And Heinen, the reason why I sort of like him as a fit there potentially, for him to at least get a shot, is because you know that you can trust him defensively. He brings a little bit of pace as well. I thought down low, he has the patience and the instincts to mesh well enough with those guys as a complementary player. Look, in an ideal world, is Danton Heinen a top line winger? No. But among the options that they have, it's not like they have another star that they can really put in that role. Any contender for that spot has some type of flaw. And to me, the other option, who would you pick? Like a Nils Höglander? Like, he has a little bit more offensive upside, but again, it comes with defensive question marks. And can he stick in that role long term? I'm not convinced, and that's where I don't mind Heinen getting that shot at all.
Like, you can't really do Garland. Like, there's no real other options, it feels like. I'm a Sprong guy. Like, that's something I noticed with Group B, is Daniel Sprong's shot. Again, I said it when I saw him at UBC. I think he might have the best shot on the team now. Like, it's quick, it's deceptive, it's hard, and I know you're gonna bring up Quinn Hughes. You're gonna bring up
Quinn Hughes' shot.
No.
I still think Pettersson and Brock have probably a better shot.
Okay, it might be up there with those guys, is what I should have said. Best on the but you know what? No, I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna stick to my guns there. You gotta look closer at Heinen's shot. I'm telling you.
You mean Sprong?
Yeah, what did I say?
You said Heinen's shot.
Yeah. I'm tired. Someone pointed out that I yawned earlier. No, Sprong's shot. Like, it is so quick, it is so deceptive, and it's so hard. It makes so much sense why he was able to score in such limited minutes. His shot's really good. Like, his shot is ridiculously good. And again, I think it might be one of the best on the team. I got to take a closer look at Pettersson and Brock, I guess. But
I agree. One of the best on the team. I'll give you that. I just wasn't sure if I'd give you number one shot on the team.
I know, but I said it, so I have to stand by it. So best shot on the team, Daniel Sprong. You heard it here first. I really liked what I saw from Sprong. We'll see if he moves up. Again, you kind of pointed out when you and I were talking just at the rink, this idea of Lekkerimäki getting the shot because you know what you have in Sprong to some extent. So, if Lekkerimäki doesn't blow the wheels off and earn that spot, which is what he's going to have to do, you have Daniel Sprong able to go into that spot, and I think he'll be a good fit on that line as well. I'm super impressed with Daniel Sprong's shot. I'm officially a Daniel Sprong guy.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a question mark, right? Is in an environment like that, they want to camp. Yeah, of course the shot's gonna pop because it's all like rush, offensive type drills.
Yeah.
It's not 5-on-5 play, and that's where like the concern with Sprong has always been. Well, the shot is arguably the only thing that he brings to the table, right? And in a 5-on-5 environment, what does his defensive play look like? Can he contribute on the forecheck? Is he going to be able to win enough battles? You're not going to get answers to any of those questions on day one at camp where you're just not in an environment where those attributes are being tested.
Talkett said they're not going to scrimmage till Sunday. He's not a fan of scrimmages at camp, so he's not going to scrimmage them. But he did say they would do some 5-on-5 work. I think he said tomorrow and maybe Friday as well. And then Saturday was going to be special teams. So I thought yesterday it was said that special teams was going to be the Friday day, but they're going to be doing special teams on Saturday. It's going to be 5-on-5 play tomorrow. So again, even that, you can't tell what you have in Sprong at 5-on-5, but I'm a Sprong guy. I'm just putting it out there now and making sure I say it right now. Moving to the defense a bit here, Harm. Quinn Hughes, we thought he might skate with Vincent Desharnais. He is paired with Noah Juleson on day one. Desharnais skates with Carson Soucy on day one. I just want to say quickly before we kind of dive into the on-ice stuff, Vincent Desharnais is our new Nikita Zadorov in terms of media darling, in terms of how funny he is. Like, he was hilarious at his media avail. He obviously talked about, because he had to talk about it, the JT Miller's an asshole comment that he made at the golf tournament. And JT even said, he's like, I just wish he told everybody that we were having beers together the night before and watching football. Like, we made up, we put the playoff series behind us, but it seems like those two actually have a really solid relationship, which is pretty funny. Obviously after what we saw from those two in the playoffs against each other, but Miller was talking about how he can go at Desharnais in practice and they can really get into those battle drills and not have to make sure it's okay if they play hard against each other. It's just like, that's what they're going to do. And Desharnais talked about how he admired Miller as a leader. So I really like Vincent Desharnais after today's media avail. That was really funny.
Yeah, I can tell that he's going to be a locker room favorite.
Yeah, he's going to be good.
Some guys just have that personality. I think it helps just being a guy that's 6'6", 6'7". You stand out and you're that much more unique, and especially if you're a guy that that is funny, that can fire chirps, that can take chirps back. That's the sort of stuff that that players in that locker room love. So I am 0% surprised that JT Miller is already really fond of Desharnais.
Okay, so on ice, Desharnais, Soucy, Juleson, Hughes. What did you think of those pairings?
Didn't read a whole lot into it, to be totally honest, because again, like the last 2 years at camp, specifically with the D pairs, they've experimented with things that never lasted, oftentimes even till preseason.
Yeah.
Right, like Hughes and Juleson started camp together last year at camp as well, if I remember correctly. The year before, Quinn Hughes was playing on the right side
with OEL.
And again, we never saw any of those things actually materialize.
Yeah.
And I just think to myself, like a Soucy Desharnais pair, sure, situationally, if you're up 1 goal in the third period, could we see that? Because that's a D pair that would be able to box out in front of the net, stop the cycle, things of that nature. Yeah, but is that a defense pair that I think we'll actually see really consistently? I'd be surprised, just because I don't think Desharnais has the foot speed or the puck movement that would actually mesh well with Soucy in a top 4 role, considering that Soucy pair usually goes up against the other team's best players. So I'm honestly not reading a whole lot into the D pairs that we saw so far. And even Rick Tocchet, during his availability, seemed to indicate as much, that we shouldn't read a whole lot into those pairs.
And Jeff said it to him. He said, well, we're going to. And it's true. We are going to read into every line, every D pairing that's assembled. Did you have anything else that you wanted to get to before we close out here?
I thought it was interesting. Maybe I just haven't seen him in a few months, so it stands out again. But I almost wonder if Quinn Hughes' shot has even more zip on it.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was really the way he was releasing it. It's wild how much it's improved since my first training camp covering him, because I remember first couple of seasons of his career, his shot was honestly a muffin. We talk about it and go, the only flaw really with him as, let's say, a power play quarterback is he doesn't have a whole lot of zip behind his wrist shot. But the release that we saw during day one of camp, and of course it improved a ton last year. I wonder if it's actually improved a little bit more. And I'll say it, for all the qualities that he has, I think Quinn also now has the best shot on the team among the blue liners.
I like it. Oh, among the blue liners, no doubt.
Not among the forwards.
Yeah,
I'm not going to give him that.
Hronek shoots it hard, but again, the accuracy.
But he also needs a big windup.
Yeah, needs to lean into it.
Remember that one play, was it towards the end of the regular season, where he had an open net, and instead of just flicking it on net, he started to wind up for a half slapper?
Yeah, that was in the playoffs.
Oh, right. That was in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was, right?
I can't remember if it was late regular season or playoffs.
Okay. All right. That was good. Did anyone else have anything in the chat? I don't think so. A lot of people talking about my arms today. I just wore a t-shirt for the first time, and let's go.
Quads, it's the angle. We can see that right bicep just
perfect
right on the edge of your screen.
Oh, yeah, you can. Wow.
Yeah, so yesterday it was all about Harmon's biceps. Today it's all about Quad's biceps.
Give the people what they want.
Oh, now he's going to roll that up.
Yeah,
there we go.
Give the people what they want. Yeah.
Our listeners are rapidly
declining, dropping. Okay, let's get to, before we get to Bet365 Bet of the Day, I got to tell you, very excited to tell you, the Vancouver Whitecaps are hosting the TELUS Canadian Championship on Wednesday, September 25th, 7 p.m. kickoff at BC Place. The Caps are looking to three-peat as winners of the Voyageurs Cup and will be taking on Toronto FC, who they beat for the Cup in an epic shootout in 2022. With a win, the Caps can book their spot into the 2025 CONCACAF Champions Cup. Free t-shirts are available for the first 10,000 fans and 50% off all beverages until kickoff, so get there early. Also, the Whitecaps are hosting a Toronto FC merch exchange for free tickets at the Caps team store on September 20th and 21st. Caps TFC TELUS Canadian Championship, Wednesday, September 25th. The atmosphere at BC Place for Cup finals is always unmatched, so get your tickets now. Check out whitecapsfc.com. There's one thing that I forgot. You know what I forgot?
Family Feud.
Take it away, Jacob.
How are we going to do this? Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm your man hosting Family Feud. And you know what? We kind of had a bit of a struggle going on in the last few weeks there, Harm. Not you, but Quads, who's now inside the house behind me. Oh, and as the music plays again, there we go. Let's stop that. We're restarting here. This is now the regular season.
Clean slate
of Family Feud. I'm not worried about you, Harm. I think you're going to get a ton of points here. We're going to get you your time up onto the clock. And we will restart that time there. Harmon, are you ready? Do you need a reminder of the rules? I think you've got it all.
No, I think I've got it. Let's do it.
All right. Sorry, a little tough for me to get this going here on our patio setup. So just going to take me a few extra seconds. Here we go. Now I'm ready. All right. Harm, your time will begin when I finish reading the first question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are the Canucks to reach 100 points again this season?
8.
Uh-oh. No, I got to pause. I lost my questions. Sorry. Don't worry, your time is not going. We will do this. All right. We'll start your time again after this question. Who should start on the wing with Miller and Besser for game 1 of the season?
Heinen.
Which team will win the Eastern Conference?
Florida Panthers.
Which Vancouver pro sports team will be the next to win a championship?
BC Lions.
Who will be the Canucks MVP this season?
Quinn Hughes.
Unreal work, Harmon, as always. We got to get Quads back here. Maybe give him a text or something, or wave inside. Get
Is he-
J-Pat to help out.
Okay, yeah, he's coming back out. Okay, we
perfect.
better win this one.
Oh,
This is. I feel
Harmon,
like
you
this
killed
is.
it. I'm gonna tally up your points here, but it was a great start.
Quads, if you choke this, I'm not talking to you again.
Okay, so let the record show we are restarting. Like this is the regular season, right? This is the start of our regular season record for Family Feud.
Yep.
So
Yes, I did mention that, and we've got a scoreboard graphic that we'll be
nice.
doing all season long.
And we got off to a good start.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, Harmon absolutely got you off to a good start.
Tell me we got 200 because I'm pretty tired. So like,
No excuses,
I'd be
man.
totally
This
fine
is-
if you were just like, we won and I don't have to go this week.
You didn't win, but Harmon got you 184 points.
All right.
Okay,
all right.
yeah,
Give me-
come
give me
on
the questions. Let's
He
go.
got number one answer, number two answer, number one answer, number two answer. So I'm liking your guys' chances.
Bob Luger pointing out in the chat. I don't understand why they aren't alternating who goes first. Major advantage to go first. I agree, Bob.
I agree, and that's
Justice
why
for quads.
I've never dunked on you for not
No,
collecting
you
your
haven't.
points.
But you know, if I don't get this, I'm sure I'll get done. Okay, let's go.
All right. So I won't actually be able to do the buzzer just because of how we're set
Just
up.
yell.
I'll just bzz. I'll make a buzzer sound. We'll do it.
What's
old
the
school.
sound?
Bzz.
Oh, okay. Now I got it.
Yeah. Your time will begin when I finish reading the first question.
'Kay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are the Canucks to reach 100 points again this season?
9.
Who should start the season on the wing with Miller and Besser?
Sprong.
Which team will win the Eastern Conference this year?
Oh, Leafs.
Which Vancouver pro sports team will be the next to win a championship?
Lions.
Bzz.
Whitecaps.
Who will be the Canucks MVP this season?
Quinn Hughes.
Bzz.
JT Miller.
All right. 3 seconds to spare.
Okay, I got
yeah,
it.
you got that.
You guys got
Alright,
it.
alright,
I'll
good.
tally up the points for you here.
I
This is
love
like
it if
season
Jason was like,
op-
oh, you came up too short.
This is like a season opener against the San Jose Sharks.
Yes, this is what we want.
Like this is the layup we needed.
Nick Pochek in the chat. Get Harma Baby Bjorn. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's like the kangaroo pouch.
Oh
And it says,
yeah.
all he does is carry quads.
No, I go first. It helps.
I think we got a good team. Although I have blown it a lot.
You have
We-
blown it a couple of times. I'm not
Quads,
gonna
you
lie.
said,
but those were preseason.
You said Pettersson for the MVP this season?
No, I said Hughes and then I said Miller.
Miller.
Yeah.
That's right. So you guys missed the number one answer. Pettersson was the number one answer.
Oh
there.
wow.
You guys
Really?
still
A lot of
got
faith in-
237 points. So you did win. But Quads, really the only big answer you got was the number 2.
I was gonna
with
say
9 on the 1 to 10 scale there.
you picked the Leafs to win the Eastern Conference.
Yeah,
Dude,
that's
I
7
couldn't
points there,
remember-
7 points for Sprong.
Who was number 1 Eastern Conference?
Number 1 for the Eastern Conference was the Rangers with 48.
yeah, they won the Presidents.
Yeah, I couldn't
So the
remember an
Panthers number
Eastern
2,
Conference team.
Devils came in at number 3, which
I want to
always
say
find interesting.
Avalanche. I was like, wait, no, they're not East.
Pro Sports.
Are
team
you all
won-
there upstairs?
No,
Is that-
literally the Leafs were the only Eastern Conference team I could name in that moment.
Yeah, so the pro sports team to win the next championship. Lions was the number 1 answer, although I think most people probably filled this survey out before their last game. So we'll see. Whitecaps did get in there with 6, but I did specify in the thing that it was kind of like a league championship. As we know, sponsors of ours now, the Whitecaps have the Canadian Championship next week, which we really do hope they win. So if we're going to factor that in, I think Whitecaps would get my vote. Pettersson was the number 1 for MVP. Miller was number 3 with 11 points. 4 points in there, 4 votes in there for both DeBrusk and Shelovs, which I found interesting.
I didn't even vote on this survey.
Yeah, and you know the Shelovs one, I understand. You know if Demko is going to be out long term,
Yeah.
but if Demko's coming back at any point, Shelovs is not going.
I think we're big braining that one a little too much, folks.
Yeah. Regardless, you guys got to the 200 points, which means I get to toss our 1-0 graphic up here.
Let's
you guys
go.
are on top, and let's hope you never get back to 500 again. And we'll see.
Keep it going. We're going to keep it going. Next Thursday is another edition of Family Feud. Folks, just to remind you of our show schedule, we will be having another show tomorrow around the same time. Saturday, another show. And then Sunday, we wrap up our training camp coverage talking about the scrimmage. And then we got to hit the Coquihalla. We got to head back home on Sunday. And then we're taking Monday off. We'll be back Tuesday. preseason games. There's 4 games in 5 nights next week. So there's going to be lots to talk about. We're officially in it now. We're in the thick of it now. So let's get to our Bet365.
Before you get into that, can you tell everybody what happened to your bet yesterday?
Dude, I genuinely, I sent it to you. I was watching it before, like I was in bed watching it, okay? And I literally couldn't believe what I saw. So again, I'll try not to bore everybody, but runners on first and third, season in the balance. The Seattle Mariners are down by a run, and it's extra innings. So the tying run to tie up the game is on third base with no outs, and the winning run is on first base because they were the home team. Okay. Randy Arozarena strikes out, throws his bat at Julio Rodriguez, who's on the third baseline. Julio gets out of the way, and then I'm really mad at Julio about this, actually. I don't know, like he's always trying to look really cool. So he like does his little trot and he gets out of the way of the bat, and then he like slowly jogs. He's halfway to the Yankees dugout, not realizing that the play's still live. So the catcher throws behind him. The third base coach is screaming at him to get back to third base. He scrambles back. He's tagged out by a mile. All of a sudden, it's 2 outs with a runner on first, and that's now the tying run. That literally, that's the season. It's over. It's over. One might think our Bet365 bet of the day is for tomorrow's game. Yes, it is. It's for tomorrow's game. George Kirby on the bump. You got a clean slate. My laptop just died, but I remembered it's minus 105 odds. The odds makers once again are a bunch of haters, putting the Mariners as the underdog. Season's not over just yet, folks. Minus 105 are your odds. Bet365. I don't have my script. I really don't. So apologies, but use code VANBONUS to sign up for an account. 19 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly.
I.e., don't do any bet that quads.
Tough to say.
Yeah,
recommend.
I had to send some stuff off. Bet365 was asking all the Nation Network shows, like, oh, send us some examples of your recent segments. And now we got 3 straight Mariners ones that I'm gonna have to like send off to them. They're gonna be like, what is going on with the Canucks Convo crew? Constantly taking the Mariners
and constantly losing every time.
Okay, we have lost a couple times, but soon they'll see.
All right, man.
Minus 105 odds, 19 plus play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. Proud partner of Canucks Conversation are those folks over at Bet365. Well, they were when they gave us the original script. We'll see what they say after all these Mariners bets. But proud partner of Canucks Conversation. Use promo code VANBONUS to sign up. It's the white towel. To sign up for an account. But we'll close it out there. Fun episode. Another fun episode outside, guys. For my co-host, Harmon Dallin, our technical producer, Jacob Lazar. My name is Dave Quadrelli. Thank you so much for listening to the episode of the Canucks Conversation. Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.